So, welcome Nick Reid on Richmond. Morena, I think it's still morning.
Yes, we are.
Kia ora, can you guys hear me? I'm wondering which
Yep.
mic to speak into. That's fine. Kia ora everyone. Tēnā koutou kua hui hui mai nei. Ko Nick toku ingoa, ko tēnei taku mihi ki ngā tangata whenua o te rohi nei. Nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, I'm Nick. I'm a Central City resident and I live within the 4 Avs in Christchurch City Council's Moa neighbourhood. If you don't know about the 11 neighbourhoods within the Central City, there's 11 and it's all about getting more residents in the Central City. So I wanted to talk about the Richmond cycle route today because I'm a local resident and I seem to go to Stanmore Road because Stanmore Road is, and further up that area because that's sort of my local neighbourhood village, I guess. So although I learnt to drive and got my full licence in year 13, I choose to not own a car, so I get round on foot or by pedalling or taking the buses in Christchurch. I occasionally use car sharing for those long trips, but yeah. Anyway, my flatmates and I live in the Moa neighbourhood and our closest village centre is Stanmore Road. We go there to get groceries, to go to the famous Stanmore fruit and veggie shop, to the fish and chip shop. So I'm mainly here to endorse the route as a local resident. But it isn't just me. I spend a bit of time walking around that Avon loop and I see a lot of people riding bikes or walking, and here's a few of them. So other people that may endorse this route that we don't hear from is it's the man with the turban cycling with his toddler in the back rack pannier, in the back rack seat. It is the rowers singing songs. I once came across this group of school students and this like camaraderie of them riding back from rowing and very close to this proposed route. And they were singing so loud. It was just, it made me so happy. Anyway, it's the folks walking their dogs. It is the commuters. There's a bunch of them. And it's the disabled folks in Richmond. Cycle facilities do improve their experience of the transport, So my comment was that I regularly ride Alexandra Street to the Stanmore Road New World for groceries. It would make sense for the route to be connected to actually get into the central city. I don't understand why it finishes at Perth Street or it finishes somewhere in Richmond. It just needs to go 2 streets further and then it would get into the central city and across the road to Margaret Mayhew Playground, and then you're in the central city. So that's my main concern. And at least if we can't put in a proper cycle route, at least mark where it should go, and then we might see the route really take off. We need to think about the wide-ranging benefits of making it, of putting in this lovely cycleway. It makes us healthy. It gives people like me who tend not to drive a safe and equitable experience. I'd also like to say that I volunteer for the Otatahi team at Generation Zero, and and we want to see healthy, equitable and safe communities. We're a climate justice organisation interested in mobilising young people to engage in decision-making processes. So yeah, anyway, I really endorse this route, and I imagine lots of other people that maybe we don't hear from would as well. And yeah, I aspire for our city to be healthy with great hauora or well-being for families. And I get really excited when I see massive groups of people walking around the neighbourhood and mums and dads biking with their kids and loving spending time in our streets. So this is a great response to it, so well done to you guys.
Excellent. Thanks. Oh, thank you. That's a lovely submission. Thank you so much. So it doesn't appear to be any questions on that. So thank you for coming in and thanks for speaking to us.
Thanks.
So I'd like to invite Greg Partridge. No, Tim Blundell. Is Tim here? Sorry, Greg. Morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I'm Tim Blunder. I live on the bottom of Perth Street on the southern end. Where I'm a family. I've got a family of this family of four. We've got two children, 4 and 7. We have one car. Both me and my partner live in this work in the city centre, so we try to do most of our activity. We bike to work. We try to do most of our activities on bike. Each day, me and my children, we scoot or we bike to school. So we go up Perth Street along Avalon, up McLeod, across Avon, North Avon, up Slater, Dudley, Stapletons, Averell, up to Banks Avenue School. So, I'm generally in favour of making the roads a lot safer. I'm generally satisfied with the safety, but there is a bit of a risk each day when we go to school. Especially Perth Street is a difficult street. I see a comment from another submitter that it is a narrow street, and we have a couple of high density housing on there, so there's a lot of car parks parked on that street. So I saw another submitter's comment about putting the bike lane onto Cumberland Street. The problem with that, I think, is that I think a lot of that Perth Street is a bit of a thoroughfare for cyclists going to work. So I don't think that would offer much value for money. I think people would choose to keep going down Perth Street. What I would suggest would be to, with Avalon Street, what I see often is there's quite a lot of cars parked on either side of the road, and cars go down that road at like 50 kilometres per hour. So it's a bit of safety and concern trying to cross that with my two children. So anything to reduce the speed on that road would be beneficial. Also at the intersection of McLeod onto across North Avon Road, there's quite a bit of plantation on the pavement, so we have to actually go onto the road onto McLeod Street to actually cross North Avon. And I would encourage with those wide roads, Dudley, Slater, Stapletons, I would encourage cycle lanes on those roads. I think they get heavily used by cyclists, and given that they're already wide, it looks like it would be an easy thing to do. The problems of those roads is with the pavements are quite high, so that they feel a bit uneasy sometimes with my kids cycling on those high pavements and possibly falling off. So just add that as well. Yeah, I think we're supportive of making the roads safer, and I think it'd be good to see more people biking to school in that area.
Great.
Yeah.
And of course, the more people that bike, the safer it is.
Yeah.
The more visible they all are. So that's a great submission. Thank you. I don't see any questions. Oh, Sarah?
Thanks so much. Just wondering how old your kids are. You clearly bike with them at the moment, and at what point do you think that you'd like to be like them to be able to bike independently?
Obviously, I think there's an age limit to that, isn't there? But I mean, if I could see it as safe to do so, yeah, I'd love for them to bike independently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm not too sure in its current state whether it would be
You just
safe.
wait and see. I'm sure all kids are different when they're prepared to go on their
But
own.
would you feel safe with them biking independently, even when they were sort of if they were sort of early teens on Perth Street currently, or to just having more awareness would be and more infrastructure be good?
Yeah, Perth Street's it's the problem I see is people drive down it quite fast, and it's a narrow street, so that would be a bit of a concern to me. And the way it enters onto London Street, people coming from London Street onto Perth Street kind of go pretty fast as well. So it's anything to reduce the speed.
So measures to reduce that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
All right, thank
Well
you.
done. Right, Greg Partridge, thank you. Thanks for waiting, Greg.
Good morning, Greg Partridge here. I'm Tim's neighbour, actually. I live over the road from him, and that is a photograph of Perth Street entering from London Street. So as you can see, the road is extremely narrow. I'll just get myself organised here. So the council's received funding for a range of improvements to make it safer for everyone to get around, and evidently the intention of the Richmond Cycleway is to make it safer for cyclists, which is a good thing. That being the case, however, the decision of council staff to establish a cycleway on Perth Street is quite surprising and may not be the best idea, especially if we're really concerned about cyclist safety and safer cycling connections in Richmond. You see, Perth Street presents particular challenges due to its narrow width. In fact, it's so narrow that due to safety reasons, the Perth Street community successfully petitioned the council to remove on-street parking on one side of the street several years ago, and as you can see there in the photograph, there are yellow lines. It's also important to note that when services are held at the nearby John Ryan Funeral Directors, it does make the traffic on Perth Street and the intersection with London Street even more hazardous. Additionally, Perth Street often serves as a rat run for motorists wanting to avoid the busy London Street Stanmore Road intersection, which isn't controlled by traffic lights, although in terms of safety would greatly benefit all road users, including pedestrians, if traffic lights were installed. These are all serious safety concerns which have been raised and echoed in submissions, not only from residents like myself in Perth Street, but also others in the wider Richmond community. In contrast, neighbouring Cumberland Street, which lies one block east of Perth Street, offers a far more promising option for a cycleway, especially when taking cyclist safety into consideration. Cumberland Street, while also narrow, features only 9 driveways servicing 19 dwellings, all of which are located on the western side of the street. This configuration and the fact that Cumberland Street has fewer than half the number of driveway hazards and less than 1/3 of the number of dwellings, and therefore far fewer vehicles than on Perth Street, significantly reduces potential hazards for cyclists. But what's even better is that Cumberland Street benefits from existing chicanes and offers much clearer sightlines than Perth Street, making it an even smarter choice for the proposed cycleway in terms of safety, which, after all, is the intent of the money the council's been gifted to spend, right? If the council decides to continue the cycleway further south into Richmond, extending it from Cumberland Street, doglegging briefly across London Street before continuing down Pavitt Street, it would pass several important community facilities, including the Richmond Neighbourhood Cottage, the Richmond Village Green, 2 schools, and would be just 1 block from the Stanmore Road shopping precinct, further enhancing the accessibility and safety of the cycling infrastructure in the area. In conclusion, when considering cyclist safety and practicality, Cumberland Street emerges as a far more suitable choice for the proposed cycleway compared to Perth Street. I kindly request the council to evaluate the location of the cycleway to ensure the safety and well-being of all road users in our community. Now, while Tim has mentioned Perth Street, and yes, he and his family do cycle a lot, there are a number of dwellings in Perth Street used by cyclists in our street that live there, but Perth Street is going to be a feeder for the North Richmond area. So if we want to actually ensure safety, we should be putting the cycleway onto a quieter street that isn't used as a rat run and has fewer houses on it and therefore fewer cars, hence Cumberland Street. And if you do extend the cycleway further south, which I would endorse, you could take it down Pavitt Street, connect with Alexandra Street, which the speaker previous to Tim mentioned, and that could then cross over Fitzgerald Ave and connect with the quieter street round the river in the red zone, which is used by a lot of school kids that are heading off to do rowing. Any questions?
Questions? Do you have one, Councillor Coker? Councillor Templeton? Oh, Councillor Barber.
Thanks so much. Just wondering, so the plans have a proposed speed hump at one end of Perth Street, which should help. They do tend to deter people who are rat running. Would, if we went ahead with Perth Street, do you think that having another speed hump down the other end might help deter cars from rat running?
No, it's quite a lengthy, that there is the southern end of Perth Street and the northern end is pretty much the same length, so it does give drivers a lot of opportunity to gather speed. As Tim's mentioned, we do hear drivers screaming along the street at all hours of the day and night, particularly during the peak traffic times. So yeah, deviating the cycle route from Perth Street one block over, Cumberland Street has quite a big speed hump at one end and isn't used by a lot of road users, so it would actually make it a lot safer for cyclists.
You don't think the speed hump has helped lower the number of users on Cumberland Street?
No, because it doesn't connect. Well, it's quite a big speed hump, but again, I just think that Cumberland Street would be far better, the better option, due to the fact that there's fewer dwellings on it, there's fewer driveways, so you've got fewer cars backing out of it, and it's just not utilised as much as a rat race,
And
a
quickly,
rat run rather.
Councillor Barber, just quickly.
Yeah, thanks for that, Greg. It sounds like a really interesting alternative. What's your lived experience of biking those routes? I'm more of a Stanmore Road person myself, but yeah, your experience of Pavitt Street over Perth Street.
They're far quieter streets, traffic-wise, yeah. And again, when there's a funeral on at John Rind Funeral Directors, like yesterday, I actually went to go and took these photographs. It was too late to catch the street when it was in full funeral service. London Street becomes so narrow that you basically have to wait for a car to go past before you can actually continue. And if you're wanting to put, like the traffic backs up from Beeley Avenue well past Perth Street, sort of towards where London Street bends with parking. So again, for cyclists, crossing that London Street, Perth Street intersection really wouldn't be the smartest idea.
Okay. And
Thank
we
you.
have Councillor Coker, just quickly.
With Cumberland Street, if cyclists were, say, coming from town, and I know it's not connected up properly yet, but if they were to go down Cumberland Street, it would be sort of a bit of a dog leg, wouldn't it, for them? They'd have to be biking further along London Street to get to Cumberland and then backtrack and then go up.
It's about 100 metres of that, and cyclists tend to be focused on health and physical exercise, so I don't think that a 100-metre stretch of pedalling would actually be that much of a deterrent for them. And at the end of the day, if they do want to bike up Perth Street, they're welcome to, you know. I just think the money's being gifted by the government to the council for safety reasons, and if you want to actually demonstrate a safety conscious culture, you need to focus on safety, and therefore Cumberland Street is the safer option rather than Perth Street.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming in, Greg.
Cheers.
Do we have anyone else?
We don't have anyone else at the moment. I'm just wondering whether we should. There's a lot of information with them at the moment. We can take this opportunity to have a review of that.
Yep.
We can do some more questions. And I'll get some printouts of those sheets that we've
Chair,
sent through.
can I just have a request from staff then for some information on what other alternate routes were?
Yep, we're just going to do some questions for staff. So, Councillor Barber. So, questions for staff. Lynette's going to get printouts of the responses so far. So, Victoria.
Yeah, my question is just acknowledging the last speaker. Can we have some information, please, on that route selection and particularly any comments on the alternative that's been suggested by that resident in relation to Cumberland Street?
Yeah. Excuse me, Councillor. Team, have you got that? We're on questions, right? Okay. Thank you. Yep.
So, I guess putting that question the other way is why was Cumberland Street not selected in the first place? Who have we got now?
So we've got Sharon.
Sharon, is that you? Welcome. Would you like to take a seat at the table? You're on. Yep.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect this.
Yep. Take a minute to get yourself organised. That's fine.
Okay.
Welcome. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
And you're here to talk to us about Richmond, the Greenway?
Yes, my home. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you just start when you're ready.
Okay.
You've got-
Hi, good morning, everyone. I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I feel better because I feel my voice maybe get heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Dudley Street, Richmond. I think in that area. I think the Cycle Line project is amazing. And in our neighborhood, we tried a few times to talk to city council in different branch for one problem is a bird. I'm not sure if anyone heard about that at all.
Yes, we know about the birds. Yep.
Yeah. So there were some plans on that street, the trees and the road. There were plans for building the road, and now it's a cycle lane. And I think we should take seriously consideration about the trees and bird before we take that step. Because what happens is I lived there 5 years, and we moved in winter, so big trees, beautiful, nothing happened. And when summer hits, in the evening time, we can see thousands of starlings flying into our street, which was beautiful when we think about that. And then when we walk outside, the bird drop, the poo, every day, seriously every day. And when our friends come to visit us during the dry day, it's okay, but in the wet day, it's like walking into a chicken house. The smell. And one of my friends really slipped on the street because it's very slippery.
We do know about this issue, and it has been here to council. Are you here to talk about the cycleway?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not safe for the cyclists to cycle there.
Oh, because of that, I see.
Yeah. So that's really my concern. And we tried so many different ways to talk, even to the T-way, but we don't see any differences.
Yep.
Yeah, so I thought I better show my face here to talk again about that problem.
Right.
Yeah. And because of that, our children never played in the front yard. I think that's a big, serious problem. We moved to New Zealand because we think it's a great place for children. And our children doesn't know neighbor children because we don't play in the front yard because of the bird.
Well, that's a very interesting point you've raised. Would you like to, have you finished talking? Would you like to take some questions from the councillors?
Yeah. I think, that's all my concern. Yeah, I'm ready for questions.
All right, Councillor McClellan.
Thank you. Hey, particularly the Deputy Mayor and I are pretty well versed with this issue, being on the same board and having to deal with it. It's certainly pretty unpleasant. Aside from the treatments to reduce the birds nesting there, I think it was the council prior even to the previous one, so 2 councils ago made a commitment to increase maintenance during that period of time that you have the most trouble. I've spoken to other residents. Have you noticed that commitment coming to fruition? Has that been
the cleaning of the street you're talking about?
Yeah, the cleaning of the street is what I'm referring to. Has that gotten better?
Better in certain ways, but they have the nice machine to wash the public way, but they don't really come into our driveway.
Right.
And it's definitely better, much better.
Right.
But can be better.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm not saying we're giving up on it. I just want to know if progress is being made. That's good to hear.
Yeah, we see the regular cleaning. Yeah.
And that influences if the public space is being cleaned, that gives me a little bit more confidence with the cycleway, not negating the fact that we can't afford to take our eye off the ball in terms of this very hard issue to solve.
I think they come once a week, right? But think of the bird coming every evening.
Yeah, sure. Understand. Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Has anyone looked at options to get more cats into the street?
Cats?
More cats.
Even cats can't get as high as...
Cats?
Oh, the tree's too high for cats.
I've never seen cats go up that tree. It's too big.
Too big.
Yeah.
Birds in it.
Yeah. So if you built steps for cats?
Yeah, and put little bits of carpet on them. Okay. Are there any other... No, but I mean, I think it's a very valid question. But there are actually... That area has got a lot of cats, that area. I don't know why they're not getting the starlings, but starlings are pretty smart birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Yeah, and cycleway will definitely protect the cats, I think, because cycleway will make the road narrower and make the car race less, right?
Yes.
And then will be better for our cat, because every now and then we see cats lying on the middle of the street.
Well, that's not going to catch any birds, is it?
Yeah, no. Our neighborhood tries so different things. Like my husband put a kite, like literally a kite flying there, but too low. It's not high enough.
Ah.
Yeah. Some neighbor put the sound out there. They said it will catch the detector of the birds, but it didn't work. Like we all use our brains to the words, but none of us worked. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all. I wish I can make a big difference, and I thank you all for make my voice heard.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks for talking to us.
All right.
Okay, our next presenter's on Zoom, Gabriel Tate. Fire away if you're there. On Linwood.
Morning, everyone. How are we going?
Good morning. So just
I'm just replying in front of the bus stop in front of my house. I just got a lot of safety concerns about it being right in front of my house at the moment.
right.
I've got elderly family members that visit me quite often, and with this bus stop being there, I'm not going to have any off-street parking, and I'll also have 3 young children staying with me, which I don't really like the idea of a bus stop being right outside my house. There's a bus stop where it is now. I can't see why it needs to move to in front of my house.
Okay. Thank you. Is that your main submission then? You finished?
Yes, it's mainly safety
Okay.
and why move something that ain't broke.
Okay. I'll see if there's any questions from councillors for you. Councillor Johansson has one.
Sorry, can you just tell us the name of the submitter and where the submission is? 'Cause
Oh, I'm
it's really
so sorry.
hard when
It's Gabriel Tate, page 48. Tatey, sorry, page 48.
Okay, cool.
School
And so
safety, Linwood.
it's the Tankard Street Woodham Road bus stop, is that correct?
Gabriel, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh yeah, cool. Do you, my understanding, the reason that bus stop's moving is for the crossing. What sort of need do you see for a crossing in that location, based on what you observe?
We've never had any problems with the crossing there before. I mean, there's not even a school close to my area. That's about 500 metres up the road. So there's a set of lights 200 metres up the road. So surely the lights are safer than a crossing in the middle of a road, the middle of a street.
Right. Any more questions?
Yep.
Councillor Barber?
Yeah, thanks for that. I know exactly where you're talking about. Do you see many people crossing the road there? I mean, what's your experience of crossing the road on Woodham Road?
So if I want to cross the road to go to the other side of the street, I'll quite easily cross the road at any point along that road, or I'll use the lights if I have my grandchildren with me.
Do you see school kids walking across the road near there at all?
Not that I can recall. I mean, my 3 grandchildren attend the school up the same road, but luckily we are on the same side of the road as the school. But we don't see a lot of children crossing there. Anybody that crosses to go to school always uses the lights at the corner of Gloucester and Woodham.
Okay, thanks, Gabriel.
Okay, well, thank you for contacting us and letting us know your concerns, Gabriel. We'll take it on board. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Aaron Gattars, are you on board?
Hello.
Oh, you're here. Great.
Hi guys.
Welcome.
I think that Tankard Street, Woodham Street crossing is actually for Woodham Park. That's the intent for it. Our family crosses there, a lot of families cross there. Just for a bit of clarification, Woodham Park is very nice park, you guys. But thanks for your time. I've got a presentation that's already up there, that's cool. So I'd like to talk about the slow speed neighbourhood around Linwood and some safety concerns. I appreciate you guys taking the time to review our area. Here we go. So I think North Linwood hasn't been paid too much attention recently. I'm really grateful that you guys have considered some crossings around the area. I was very happy to see some of these changes come through and progress to this point. However, there are some concerns around some neighbourhood streets and residential streets, which I'll go on about quite soon. So basically, the area that we live in is around the triangle of Linwood Avenue, Woodham Road, and Gloucester Street. So in that triangle there's a few streets: Tankard, Surrey, Woodhouse, and Rochester. And what we have there is a very nice wide road, all wide roads, that allow for excessive speed and a shortcut for people to avoid the traffic lights on Linwood Avenue and Woodham Street that goes to Gloucester. Gloucester. So
Gloucester.
what we have here are people driving at very excessive speeds quite often. So if this street was considered a construction site or a design of some machine, we're going to see ourselves in the severe area because the catastrophic failure or catastrophic incident of someone being run over, a family, or a child, or whatever, and likelihood is it's going to happen a few times a day. So if I believe this is an unacceptable risk to have streets this wide in a residential area. We can see this is just Monday. I can walk out there any single day. This is taken Monday evening. We can see people going through these streets at excessive speeds with tyre marks, more tyre marks at Woodhouse, and more tyre marks at Rochester with a preschool, as you can see outlined halfway down the street. So just give an indication of what we're looking at here. Anywhere of New Zealand highway, State Highway 1, heading down towards Ashburton, I just took a screenshot and measurement. We're looking at 9.6 metres for dual carriageway road, which has been rated at 100 kilometres an hour safely. However, Tancred Street, Woodham and Surrey are 13 metres wide. So there is plenty of documentation around within government road authorities that it really shouldn't be that wide. Hence, that's why people are driving through these streets at very excessive speeds. So even the Auckland City Council have made mention that local roads should be no wider than 3 metres per lane, but we got 13 metres per lane, which is 2.2 times wider, which allows people the comfort and ability to drive at, when I say excessive speeds, I don't mean excessive speeds of the speed limit, I mean excessive speeds of what cars can actually really should be doing. We're probably talking around speeds around 80, 90, 100 plus k's an hour along roads that are 13 metres wide, no lane markings, nothing to hinder them from going that fast to avoid traffic lights. The reason why they go through there is to save themselves 2 or 3 minutes at the cost of someone's life. Hence, I go back to here, the likelihood of it happening multiple times a day during peak hour and school times, and severity of something happening is actually quite high. If this was anything else outside of a council road, it would be shut down immediately. Now, this neighbourhood has been around for at least 80 years. You can see the screenshot of 1940, 1944. Looks identical to what we have today. We've had 80 years of ratepayers paying into this neighbourhood. We've seen no changes. And in the past 2 years, there have been 48 new houses where they've paid at least $21,000 to $22,000 each for development contribution. We haven't seen any changes to the road in the past 80 years, in spite of there being over $1 million put into this single neighbourhood, these 4 streets, and we haven't seen any changes. So we still need these streets to be a little bit safer, and especially that these streets link through major roads. So I think a solution would be to narrow the streets down. I think one way which would be very beneficial for the neighbourhood and for our entire Christchurch environment is by putting street trees either on the berm or a central aisle street, and a full solution would be making cul-de-sacs, so cutting off these streets so they are not through streets anymore. There's no reason why they have to be through streets. These isn't a major carriageway. Even the Christchurch City Council has made mention in your own documentation where you can have road widths narrowed down with landscaping to have safer streets. And let's face it, there's no other better way to avoid the CO2 emissions than planting trees. There's no technology, there's nothing else available to our world than trees. So let's plant them, and it's probably one way of getting good use of it. So thank you for your time.
Excellent. And what a lovely solution. And we're quite aware that those big wide streets do attract bad driver behaviour. So it's just a question of prioritising and moving through the city really to address these issues. But I love your idea of using trees to narrow it with design. So that's great.
Yeah.
No questions. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming in. Much
Thanks, guys.
appreciated.
We're still waiting on Graham.
So we're waiting on the 11:30 submitter, Graham, and that's the last one. So we just wait a couple of minutes for our next submitter, and then we'll break for lunch. We'll just have a quick roundup before we leave the chamber. Councillor Johansson.
Yeah, I mean, just following on, obviously there was a Healthy Streets Linwood program that we rejected, but I know we've got it on budget a few years into the future. Is it? It was in terms of the money that the government were going to put in, but it may be good just to get some information on the geographic area of that,
Yep.
and whether it could be extended into this.
It's a question for
neighbourhood.
staff.
Yeah.
Can you please repeat that for the staff? What you?
So my understanding is we've got a Healthy Streets Linwood project sometime in the future, the one that we didn't accept the government funding. But I just wondered if this area is within the geographic scope of that, or if not, whether that's something that could be considered and how we would do that. I'm still a little bit, I know we've had like different submissions on the Tankard Street Wooden Road crossing, so it would be good when staff come back to talk to that. Just any ideas on how we can resolve that conflict?
The bus stop issue?
It's the bus stop, and I think it's more the pedestrian crossing issue.
Oh, yeah,
that's
because they're
creating the problem.
interrelated, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So is there any other option with the pedestrian crossing and the bus stop issue? Anything else anyone wants to raise? Yep.
Just briefly, whether there was the opportunity with Perth Street to add another speed hump. If we go ahead with Perth Street, where there was because it looks like there's only a speed hump at one end, whether it was worth putting it at the other end as well to deal with that speeding traffic issue that Greg raised.
Yeah.
Or speed cushions, that sort of, that sort of thing that would be, that'd be great. Thanks. Yeah.
Yanni?
Just picking up on that earlier point, I guess if we left or removed that crossing, could we allocate that design to maybe some slower speed intersections in the streets in the previous submission? Where we saw that the skid marks and the things.
Oh, like Tankred and Woodhouse, you mean?
Yeah.
A number of those streets will be covered under the speed management plan as well.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we know that you need some, design interventions. But so what you're suggesting then, Yanni, is would we have an appetite to not do that crossing on Woodham Road and not move the bus stop and use that funding to do another safety? Probably not. I think it's too late in the day to we had that in the memo last week that we can't stop one bit and transfer it to another because that would have to be consulted on and treated as a new project, and we don't have the time to do that.
But it's also about the package of works that we've bid to Waka Kotahi for. Switching and changing it puts that at risk as they're buying that package or they're funding that package of works.
But I mean, it's great that submitters are bringing these other issues to us because staff are noting them all for future works, and they certainly do need to be done. Have we got anybody yet? Oh, great.
So we are done. I'm just trying to get a printout for you all of the questions that you got at about 10 o'clock.
So we can now break for lunch. Lynette is getting the printout if you want to wait.
I'll try and do that right now, yeah.
Yep, so just wait, and we're going to come back at 1. I'll be in here a little bit earlier if anyone wants to come in a bit earlier, that's fine. And then we'll go into the 12 reports. We're going to try and order them so that we kind of got perhaps the straightforward ones if there's any first, and then work through, trying really aiming to get finished by 5 at the latest. Some of us have got commitments. We could come back tomorrow morning if we need to. I've got to open a conference at 8, but I'll be free from 10. But we'll just finish it today. I think that's a good idea.
Have we got a quorum?
I don't know, Yanni. I'm just winding you up.
They're all sitting here.
I know. It's today, people. It's today. Well, no, we're trying to use the time to allow staff to work through these questions.
Get everything sorted out and set up for
so that we
as
get a smoother process when we start.
You guys will probably get the sub out at the same time, but you're off for 2, aren't you? You're off.
No, I'm off at 1.
But you're coming back for 3?
Yeah,
Well, it depends when the meeting finishes and I've got my controller there.
Who else is leaving? About 3. So what have we got? Does that drop the quorum?
No, because they're there at different times. It should work out.
Yeah, look, my,
No, that's right. That's okay. I mean, when you look at it, there's only a few really contentious pieces in these 12 reports, and I think we can work through those quite well with staff responses and guidance if we want any options.
look, I have to flag up that I feel compromised in my decision making because I'm going to miss 2 hours when I've got staff reporting on a number of the issues that we've heard. So
No, the staff are going to open up at 1 o'clock with a 20-minute report in response to the submitters. That's correct, isn't it?
No, we were going to do each report. We were going to do a
right,
summary ahead of each report, but it is a summary ahead of each report.
Well,
Are we adjourned?
yes, let's adjourn. Yeah. So you will be able to partake in the reports that